I'm John Mead with A16, and I want to thank you all for being here on another Wild Wednesday at Helix Brewing Company. We do these programs for inspiration, and we do them for information, and I think tonight we're going to get a bit of both. But I think that there's a couple things that I want to thank before we get going here. One is, first of all, Cameron Ball, who is the owner of Helix Brewing and a trail runner himself, but he has given us this venue, and his team have been generous in allowing us on every Wednesday of the year that we've got, which is probably about 52 of them, right? They will, last I counted, they allow us to use this space. So if there's any program that you guys would like to hear, or you know of a speaker that would be interesting and can either give us some inspiration or some information or both about the outdoors, let me know, and maybe we can arrange to have them come and speak. So thanks for Cameron. Also want to thank Greg Voisen for giving this opportunity. Greg, we'll learn a little bit more about Greg in just a few minutes. But Greg's a longtime fan of A16 customer, and he called me up, I don't know, was a couple months ago, and offered this opportunity and said, heck yes, we just got to figure out a date, and we did that. So I think I'm preaching to the choir when I say that there's a lot of parallel between being on the side of the mountain and learning the lessons that we learn when we're out there, whether we're paddling on the ocean or on the side of a mountain or a precipice on the mountain. And those lessons are very parallel to leading one's life well, both in the personal life and professional. And we have somebody uniquely qualified to draw those parallels and talk about his experiences and Bo's thoughts about that parallel. And I just want to say, Bo, thank you so much. We are so honored that you come all the way from Colorado to come down here and talk to us. And we know you got to zip off to Louisiana tomorrow, I think. But thank you for fitting us into your schedule. So with that, I'm going to introduce my friend, Greg Voisen. Greg, thank you. You may.
I want to thank, again, we're doing a lot of thanks and gratitude, give gratitude to John. I think it was over 10 years ago, Bo, at the Natural History Museum, we did a 300-person event where the monies raised actually went to the Sierra Club for the kids, that first-time backpackers, to buy backpacks. This was the book that we did it on, okay? This book is the first one Bo wrote. Tonight, he's going to tell a little bit different story because it kind of blends the two of these together. This was all about the mountain climbs. This one's about the mountain climbs and the lessons from the mountain climbs. We'll have those books available at that table, and he'll be signing the books afterwards. I want to give a thanks to Kathy Sparrow, and myself. Took this journey with Bo. We had no idea what it was going to be like because we weren't involved in actually writing the first book. But as you know, as a mountain climber, the kind of mountain climbing that Bo does, it's a team effort. Okay, you don't go up Everest unless you've got some Sherpas and people that are going to help you, and lots of people helping you along the way. He approaches everything in life that way. All of it is really about the team that he's created. Kathy and I were the team that were by his side for over a year, compiling the stories that are inside these books. I want to say there was in excess of 24 to 26 interviews from mountain climbers from every different boat, male and female. So I want to say we tried to do our best from a gender standpoint, including Eric, the blind mountain climber, the first one to ever climb Everest blind. His story is in there as well. So he lives in Golden, Colorado. So you'll find a lot of these dudes are out of Colorado, right? Interestingly, because they have a lot of 14,000 foot peaks that they can actually practice on before they make bigger ascents. This is going to be a little more of an informal event from offshoot from what we did tonight. A lot of stories, lessons from those stories, and an opportunity for you guys to interact with Bo as well.
Climbing the 7 summits, the highest peaks on all 7 continents. is one of mountaineering's most coveted goals. Only a few hundred people have ever achieved this feat. Parfet is one of them. A climber, investor, philanthropist, real estate executive, three-time author, speaker, conservationist, and father. Bo is a native of the great state of Michigan. He received his master's in applied economics from the University of Michigan and his MBA from Northwestern's Kellogg School of Management. His career began as an investment banker, and he was also a fellow at the Financial Accounting Standards Board. Soon after, Bo founded Denali Venture Philanthropy, fusing his business experience with his passion for philanthropy to support global positive change. He is a member of the fabled Explorers Club, a sitting member on the board of directors for a number of companies and nonprofit organizations, and he has been recognized for his commitment to social change and awarded the Presidential Volunteer Service Award, given only to individuals who have 4,000 hours or more of volunteer service throughout the world. Author of the book, Die Trying, One Man's Quest to Conquer the Seven Summits, and currently releasing his new book, The Precipice of Life, Leadership and Personal Growth Insights from a Mountaineer's Edge. Bo has always found his calling in the mountains. He has climbed K2, the deadliest climb in the world, with a death rate of over 25%. He is the youngest American to ski the 6th tallest mountain in the world, and he is the first American to ski the 8th tallest mountain in the world. Today, Bo is the managing principal and head of growth at DLP Capital, where he applies his passions and their mission for positive impact.
Hello, North America. Hello, South America. Hello, world. We're about 30 seconds at the top.
Where he enjoys summiting the foothills of the Rockies with two boys. And today, he is excited to share his insights and experiences from his business, impact investing, and mountaineering endeavors with you.
Stay humble, God willing, make it to the top safely and down safely. Take care.
I have to climb K2. See my skis, put those things on. We actually ski towards that back summit. And 5,000 feet. Oh, it just does feel amazing. Amazing.
We're good to go. Hey everybody, how's everybody doing? How's everybody doing? Hey, hey, hey. Wonderful. Well, I always like to start with gratitude. So we're gonna do three thank yous, okay? But we're gonna do it in a fun way. We're gonna do it together. So there's not kind of like, when do I stop clapping? So we're gonna clap together. But first we have to practice, okay? So we're gonna practice. So I'll count to 3 and we'll clap one time together. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Now let's do 2 claps. 1, 2, 3. Wow, this is a good group. This is a good group. I like it. I like it. Wonderful. So Mike, and if I know that many of you know John. John, if you don't know John, hand up here, host. And then Mike is back here helping with the audio and the video and everything. And I can't tell you how many times I go to places and people don't recognize the people that made all this go together. Mike, thank you so much. You're back there. We see you. You guys are fantastic. So John and Mike, thank you so much. Let's do 2 claps for John and Mike. 1, 2, 3. Here we go. Okay, it's okay. We're having fun. 1, 2, 3. Boom. I love it. As Greg mentioned before, success is a team sport. Okay. I could not have done this without my awesome co-authors, Greg Voisen and Kathy Sparrow. You are amazing. I'm so glad that we have gone on this journey, and I look forward to many years to come. We're going to give you 2 claps. 1, 2, 3. Beautiful. And lastly, we're going to thank all of you because you took out time out of your busy day, your busy life to be here, and that doesn't go unnoticed. So let's give everybody here 2 claps. 1, 2, 3. Love it. Beautiful. Okay, perfect. So let's talk about K2. But before we talk about K2, I have some questions. How many people here hike? Okay, everybody, awesome. How many people here have ever hiked outside of the U.S.? Okay. How many people here have ever been above 18,000 feet? Okay. One, two. Okay. Three. Okay, perfect. That's a good. How many people here have kids? Awesome. Any grandkids? Awesome. Perfect. This is really good stuff. This is always. How many people were born in California? Okay. Great stuff. Cool. Really cool. That's very helpful. Okay. Fascinating. Okay. So, who here knows where K2 is? What country? Anyone know? Take a guess. Pakistan. That's right. So K2 is the second tallest mountain in the world. It's arguably the most deadly mountain in the world. And K2 and Everest are different sports. They're both very, very difficult. I've climbed both. They're both, I want to say it again, they're both very, very difficult. Anyone that says Everest is easy, I don't think has done it. It's very challenging. In 2008, you probably read about this. This made international news. 11 climbers died in one day. This is one of the biggest tragedies in the mountaineering world and mountaineering history. 11 people died, boom, in one day, boom. Okay, it's very K2 is relentlessly steep, avalanches and rockfall. It is, as you can see some photos here. It takes everything you got. In 2013, there's a mountain called Nanga Parbat. Okay, Nanga Parbat. Say that 100 times. Okay, Nanga Parbat. There's 14 mountains that are above 8,000 meters. These are the 14 tallest mountains in the world, and they're all above 8,000 meters. And Nanga Parbat is one of them, and Nanga Parbat is very close to K2. And in 2013, there was the Nanga Parbat massacre, which many of you have read about or heard about it, or you haven't, and that's okay. But it was a terrible, terrible, terrible tragedy, because at the base camp were people from many different countries, okay, all over the world. Different countries were just hanging out at base camp, trying to climb this beautiful peak called Nanga Parbat, and terrorists came up to base camp. Everybody came down. They put them all on their knees, and they all got killed execution style. Okay, this is a terrible tragedy. So this shocked the mountaineering world. The Himalayas, as many of you know, are a huge mountain range, and a piece of that mountain range is called the Karakoram. Okay, and the Karakoram is steep, raw, huge peaks. And in the Karakoram is beautiful hiking. It's breathtaking. But because of this massacre, a lot of the mountaineering in that world, and the hiking and the traveling and the tourism, it just boom. I mean, you can understand it stopped. So nothing happened there for 2 years. And then I got a call from a guy named Russell Bryce. If anyone here has seen the show Beyond Everest, right? Russell Bryce was the expedition leader. And he said, hey, I'm gonna take a trip to K2, and I'm trying to put together a team. Well, K2 is the mountaineer's mountain. It's the granddaddy of them all. If you climb, there's more people in space that have climbed K2. More people in space, in outer space, that have climbed this mountain here. Holy smokes. So it's like winning the Super Bowl, or it's like winning all 4 majors in golf or tennis. This is the granddaddy of them all. So I was really excited to go. And Russell wanted to go in 2015. And I said, oh my goodness, no one's been there. Are you sure it's safe? What's going on? And he's, we're gonna give it our best shot. They had a really rock star team. I think I was the 12th man on the team. So this reminds me of when I played basketball in high school. People called me the Minuteman of the team. I'd say, hey coach, put me in. He'd go, yeah, just a minute, man. Okay guys, let's go. Hey everybody. Okay. So I was there was a guy named David Tate, who is a pretty well-known, famous climber, and then Under Armour. We all know that company. So one of their head executives was going. So we had Discovery Channel. We had Under Armour was doing a documentary. Discovery Channel was doing a documentary, and we were headed to K2. So so I'll never forget this. We're flying into Islamabad. Okay, so we're coming to Islamabad, which is, by the way, Islamabad is in Pakistan. And as I looked at our hotel was less than a mile away from where the Navy SEALs took out Osama bin Laden, right? So that was on my mind. My wife and my son at the time they knew this was my lifelong dream, and they were excited for me to go there, but they were a little worried about this fact. And so when we landed into Islamabad, and you land at like 12 at night or 1 in the morning. So as soon as the plane hit the ground, I've never had this happen. The brakes on this plane were so fast. People screamed. You flew out of your seat. I mean, stuff was coming down from up high. The brakes were so fast. I was like, what's going on here? And as soon as we landed, brakes on, boom, it turned. Just so sharp. And we started going like in the dirt. And I said, what is this? Is this how it is here? Boom, the pilot, the door opens up in the airplane. And, soldiers with head torches on come running in. And I was like, well, I was like, God, the light is right on me. I was like, hopefully they're not looking at me. They have a guy behind me. The guy comes in, grabs me from my chest. I don't even have my shoes on. Rips me out of the seat, goes back. They get more people out of the airplane. Boom, I'm in a car, I'm gone. Okay? Someone else is in the car, boom, 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 boom. Next thing you know, we're in the basement of the airport. And I don't even have my shoes on. All my stuff is still in the airplane. I don't even know what's going on. And fast forward a little bit, it's all of my team members were the only ones taken. So they had a terrorist threat against us, and the terrorists were there. That was the threat. Get them out of there, get them safe. They had to sweep the whole airport and everybody outside. So this is all happening, and I'm really second guessing myself, right? Because it's only 2015. And now it's time where, okay, the airport is safe, but you're not going to go in your big expedition bus to the hotel, right? Because they could be waiting right out there. We're going to put you all in taxi cabs, unmarked, just normal taxi cabs, one at a time. So we hear this, okay? So one at a time. Let's just say we're right here. So then they said, who wants to go first? Who wants to go first? Are you kidding me? So I said, I was like, oh man, And right as I was kind of thinking about what to do, boom, one of my climbing members raised his hand. I'll go first. I was like, whew. So rule number 1 is anytime that you can transfer the risk, okay, transfer the risk to someone else, okay? So I went second, and I remember taking, I remember on my phone I was writing down the license plate, X35 or whatever it is, and I showed it to the person next to me, and I said, here, write this down. It's X35123. And he's like, what for? I'm like, what do you mean? He was so, so freaked out. I'm like, it's the license plate. Am I going to get in that taxi cab and never be seen again? So then we all started to do that. So then we get to the hotel. And then a fascinating thing happened so we're at the hotel, and we were supposed to fly out of Islamabad and go to Skardu. And Skardu is the mountain town, okay? Well, the weather turns, so we can't fly to Skardu. So this was a huge, huge deal because a lot of the climbers were from Europe, and they had Lloyd's of London insurance policies. Any insurance experts here? Anyone here licensed in insurance besides Greg? Okay. So in the fine print in your life insurance policy on page 4,822, in the very fine print, it says if you are killed on the Karakoram Highway, which is the most dangerous highway in the world, which is in Pakistan, then your life insurance is no good. Okay? So I didn't have that policy. But half of our team did. This was a big brouhaha. Okay, so there was a mutiny. We're not going to drive, because Russell Bryce, who you all know, very famous guy, look at the TV show Everest Beyond the Limits, was like, if we can't fly to Skardu, we're going to drive. Well, I was like, great, I'll drive. Right? So people raised their hands, but then half the group was like, no way, I'm not doing it, I'm out of here. So this was a big deal, a huge deal. So then, as luck would have it, right as like the maximum tension possible on day 3, the weather cleared, okay? And we got to fly to Skardu. From Skardu is a harrowing drive to this town called Escole. And then from there, you begin an 80-mile trek, roughly an 80-mile trek to base camp, okay? And anyone know that, so Everest has a local name, the local Chumulungma. Does that sound familiar? Remember from the books? Chumulungma or Sagagarthma. And the reason why Everest has a local name is because you can see it. You can see it. K2 doesn't have a local name because you can't see K2 until the very last day. You wake up that morning and you say, I'm going to K2 base camp, and you haven't even seen the mountain yet. It's so buried in there, okay? This is a very, very difficult mountain to get to. So on day 5, along this glacier, there's crevasses everywhere. You know, you're jumping over them. I couldn't believe we weren't roped up or didn't have our crampons on. We're just hopping over crevasses all, the day. There's 400 people, 400 porters coming in with us. People carrying goats, right? They slaughter the goats at night and you eat the goat. You can go down and see where they're doing it. So right as the sun is setting, okay? Right as the sun is setting, the porters start going bananas. There's all this chatter. It gets louder and louder. And I knew something was up, so we came out. They have 399 porters. We're missing somebody. Holy smokes, we're missing somebody. We're going 10 miles a day. We got to go back. We just went 10 miles. We got to go back 10 miles and then come back again. That could be a 30-mile day. Across these crevasses, it's getting dark, but we're missing somebody. We got to go. Everybody saddle up. And we went back and looked. And every time you went over a crevasse, you'd yell, hey, are you down there? Hey! You'd lay down. We never found them. So we're not even at K2 base camp, and we already lost a guy. This starts right here, right? I mean, you're just thinking, what am I getting myself into? And then I'll never forget this. As we're walking, I wake up that morning and go, hey, I'm going to make it to K2 base camp. And about 4 hours in, you get to this spot called the Concordia, where all these glaciers come together. It's breathtaking. And you turn left, and you see this beautiful. I wonder if it's here. Not here. You see this beautiful pyramid, and it just it takes your breath away. Oh my gosh, are we the ones that are going to be able to climb this peak? Are we the ones that are going to have Lady Luck on our side? Are we the ones that are going to cheat death? I mean, I couldn't remember. I was just, oh my gosh, look at this peak. So that's a little bit of a flavor of what it takes to climb K2, okay? So we're gonna talk about something that I think is pretty cool, okay? The 2 most important moments of your life are the moment you're born and the moment you know why. And a lot of people ask, can I have more than one why? Yes, you can. Can I get a new why when I'm 60, 70, 80, 40? Yes, you can. I have a lot of whys. But this is a defining moment in your life when you start to figure out, what am I really jumping out of bed for? So we're going to this circle of comfort. This is a good takeaway right here, and part of what Greg and Kathy and I hope is that you can take some of these things and share them with your friends, your family, kids, or grandkids. So most people in life live in the circle of comfort. You see that innermost circle? Does everyone see it? So most people live in that innermost circle. So, but not today. But not today. We're not doing it today. We're going to share some vulnerability, okay? Not today. Okay? So, and we're going to give a real life example. So, let's just say I just got back from K2 and I've been back at K2 for about 2 months. Okay? So we're going to pretend we're going to walk in time together. I've been back from K2 2 months. Ask me how K2 was.
How was K2?
K2 was great. K2 was great. My wife and my kids were really supportive. It was great. Thanks for asking. You see where I'm living?
Great.
Yeah, I'm living in the circle of comfort. The circle of comfort is, it's your favorite coffee that you have every morning. It's what you do on Saturday. It's your favorite walks. It's I play pickleball on Tuesday. I always go for a hike on Sunday, right? It's the circle of comfort. It's where most people live, okay? So I just answered in the inner circle. Now we're going to go one layer out, okay? Ask me how K2 was again.
How was K2?
Thank you for asking. I've been back about 2 months. It was a heck of an expedition. I came home. My wife was kind of had some things to say to me when I came home about. She asked me, she said, "Hey, things have been kind of tough for me. Do you want to kind of talk about it?" And I said, "Yeah, let's talk. Maybe in a little bit." And she said, "You got 2 kids here that haven't seen you in a while. Maybe we should start talking about some things." So, but besides that, things are pretty good. Okay, so you see, I just one level deeper. Boom. Okay, boom. Now we're going to go to the outer rim. Okay, ask me how K2 was.
How was K2?
Well, thanks for asking. Not really. I wish you wouldn't have asked me that question. But I'm going to share some vulnerability with you. So I've been back about 2 months, and my wife turned to me on a Sunday morning and said, over coffee, and said, "Hey, you want to hear about my K2?" I said, "What do you mean? You didn't climb K2, I did." She goes, "No, I had my own K2. Do you want to hear about it?" I said, "Not really." Okay. That clearly didn't work. So she kept coming around and said, no, this is, you've trained, you were, you worked 60 hours a week, you trained 40 hours a week, and you just, the last year has been really tough for us. And oh, by the way, you have a 5-week-old son. Still hurts to say. Okay? And who'd like to get to know you? That was a tough one. So I knew I wasn't getting out of that. I knew I was in trouble. So she said, so I've been in marriage counseling the last 4 or 5 months, and it's been really hard. That's how I'm doing. How are you doing? Okay. So you see where we're going. But most people. So the lesson is connection, right? How many people live in the inside, right? But it's amazing when you just share a little bit. Boom, you get more connections. So the circle of comfort is amazing for those that have kids. Sometimes the circle of comfort is just trying to have your kid try a piece of fish, a different food, right? It's that circle of comfort. My son, who's 11 now, is scared to death to go to overnight camp. And I didn't know what to do, so I brought out this tool. I kind of said, "What do you like doing every day?" And I wrote it down. And what do you like? And then we circled those things. I said, my son's Mo. I'm Bo. Son's Mo. I said, "Mo, that's your circle of comfort." But there was a point when those things weren't inside your circle of comfort, right? And it loosened. It worked. It made him loose. You're still nervous, but it was just something that we could use. Okay. So the circle of comfort is a big one. And I want to share something that's pretty neat. And as I talk to my son over stuff like this, or people I work with, I notice that I've got a little window to talk to him before people kind of start to think about other stuff. So I'm going to ask the audience a question. What do you think the average attention span is for a human being? What's that? Okay, so 2 minutes, another 15 seconds, 7 seconds, 20 minutes? Who said 20 minutes? Okay, great. We should work together. That means you really got. Okay. The average attention span is about 7 or 7.5 seconds for a human being. Did you say that? Good job. What's your name? Margaret? Awesome. Okay, let's see if you can get this one.
You paid enough attention to actually remember what I said.
Awesome, yeah. So, anyone here know, just say the average attention span of a goldfish?
10 seconds.
Okay, so we got 10 seconds. Did someone say 20 minutes? Who keeps saying 20 minutes? I love that. You do. Okay. Okay. 30 seconds? 2 seconds? The average attention span of a goldfish is 8 seconds. Those darn goldfish, they just beat us every time, don't they? I mean, holy smokes. Okay. They do. They do. Another kind of fun one is we all have these cell phones in our pockets. How many times on average do you think people touch their cell phone a day? Take a guess. Throw some guesses out. 300? I heard another 300. Okay. 50? Okay. Over 2,600 times. Over 2,600 times. Isn't that amazing? Like, oh, where is it? Oh, it's right here. Yep. Okay, got it. Yep. Cool. I'm safe now. Ooh, here it is. Okay. Isn't that amazing? Okay. So all these things that, kind of circle of comfort stuff, right? Okay. It's there. So we're going to talk about something pretty neat. We're going to talk about pattern recognition. Okay, this is a big one. So I was climbing Cayembe, and I was skiing down it. So one of my goals is to be in the Colorado and the Michigan Ski Hall of Fame. So I've been climbing and skiing these big peaks for a long time and putting together a pretty good body of research. So I remember the Cayembe. Anyone here been to Ecuador?
Going.
You're going? Okay. So Cayembe is a serious peak. I mean, it's about 19,000 feet. It's glaciated. There's crevasses, and it's in Ecuador, and it's the real deal. So I get about, and you have to leave at midnight, right? Midnight or 1 in the morning, and I've got my guide, and we're headed up together, and we're moving pretty quick, and the snow is so hard we couldn't skin up, so we had to carry our skis, which is okay, right? So we were hoping we could skin, but it hadn't warmed up yet, so we're carrying our skis, pretty heavy loads, and we're climbing up, we're roped together, and we get about 35% of the way there, and he turns to me and he says, hey, how you doing? I said, I'm great. How are you? He goes, I'm a little tired, but do you want to keep going? I said, yeah, I want to keep going. He goes, okay, are you sure? I said, yeah, okay, I'll keep going. Okay, great. So we go another hour and a half. He's like, hey, do you, how you doing? Yeah. How you feeling? You want to keep going? Yeah, no, I feel good. I want to keep going. Well, I could ski down from here, he says. This is a beautiful ski here. I mean, we get a nice ski, at least 45 minutes. It'd be a great ski. I can video you. The sun's coming out. Do you want, you want to turn around? No, I'm good. Let's keep going, okay? And then he really starts to slow down. So I have these kind of like energy goos. And so I start giving him some of these goos, and he's eating them. So I was like, well, that's a good sign. And I have ones with a lot of caffeine in them, so I'm really starting to give him these, like, have 2, have 3, buddy, So I'm just, every time he slows down, boom, I give him an energy goo. Starts to slow down, boom, I give him an energy goo. So he's starting to go, like he's moving, give him my Gatorade, right? So he drinks all my Gatorade. And now we're about, an hour from the top. He takes off his pack, he puts it down, he sits on it, and he's like, whew. this has been amazing. He goes, yeah, this is a good place to ski from here. This is a good place to ski from here, Bo. Let's ski from here. I said, what are you, why don't we just rest for a bit? So, what do? Boom, give him some more energy goos. Boom, give him some, hey, do you want something more to drink? Yeah, boom. We're there for 25 minutes, and I said, I think we're getting pretty close here. Let's push through if that's okay. My backpack's kind of heavy. I don't know if I should. Great. I go into his backpack. I take out a bunch of stuff. I put it in my backpack. Okay. Now I've got him. Now he's in. Okay. So we press on. So we get to the summit, and I'll never forget this. We're both so excited. Our backpacks come off, and we hug each other, and he's not letting go of me. Okay. I'm like, well, this is cool. I'll keep hugging you too. Hey man, this is great. Right? Let's hug it out. And then he starts crying, and he's like really crying. And I said, "Oh, I love it. Oh, what a moment here." And we kind of embrace for a good long while, and then we kind of separate. We kind of have that awkward pause where we're kind of looking at each other, and I said to him, I said his name, and I said, "Hey, that was really great." He said, "Yeah." And I said, you were kind of emotional there too, and I was too. This is great. I said, what was going on there? You feeling okay? And he said, I got to tell you. He said, I'm so emotional. It's my first time ever summiting the mountain. I'm like, but you told me that you've guided this mountain like 35 times or 100 times or whatever it was. His pattern was to quit. Was to get to about halfway, and most clients that he took up there would just ski down from there and be happy, and that was his pattern. And he pushed through, he pushed beyond. And how many times in life have we been stuck in patterns? Okay, awesome. So we're going to talk about grit. So anyone here been in New Zealand? Oh, fantastic. Look at this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, wow, quite a few. Anyone here go see Mount Cook? Did anyone go see it? You saw it? Okay. So Mount Cook is the tallest mountain in New Zealand. And this is where Sir Edmund Hillary, who first one to climb Everest, he and Tenzing Norgay climbed it together. This is where Sir Edmund Hillary learned to climb. So I'm climbing Mount Cook, and again, as many of you know, when you climb a big peak, you leave in the dark, right? You leave at night as you go. We got a good group of outdoors folks here. So there is so it's me and my guide, right? And he's ahead of me, and he's shorter than I am, and he's I think he weighs 135 pounds. He's the smaller guy. Tough as hell, by the way, so tough as hell, but just I outweighed him by a pretty good chunk of change. So we're walking kind of on this glacier, and it's a lot like the Khumbu Icefall on Everest. So there are crevasses and there are snow bridges. And I could see this indentation here, and just like I saw so many of them before in the past, and he just goes over this kind of snow bridge like a little butterfly. He's just, and I said, well, if he, it looks a little sketchy, but if he can do it, I can do it. So I'm like, butterfly, and whoo, boom. I go right through this crevasse, okay? Break the snow bridge, boom. And he doesn't know, right? Because we're roped together and he's behind me. So I fall, and I just remember going, I was so scared. And then I could feel me rip him off of his feet, because I stopped for a moment and then I started going down again. And the worst part about crevasses is some crevasses are as wide as this room here, and some are this big, as my finger. They're an inch across. But the scary part is if they come to a V, there's a wedge, and you get stuck in the wedge, then you can't get out and you die, okay? And I could feel and my feet get pressed together, and I remember putting my arms out because it was getting super narrow, and at that moment he self-arrested. So for those of you that don't know what that means, is you take an ice axe and you dig it into the ice as fast as you can, and it prevents him from sliding right on top of me. Make sense? Okay? So he self-arrested and he stopped me, but I'm still pinned in from my knees down. And I'm stuck in here hard. And I'm like, oh, but I can still move my arms, and my ice axe on the crevasse wall was not doing anything because it was so hard. And it was really, really scary. So the question is, how many times in your life have you been stuck? And what did you do to get out? Right? Was it a bad relationship? Was it a tough situation with parents, a friend, a business partner, a difficult boss, right? What did you do to get out of a really difficult situation? Super tough, right? What do you do? So, anyone want to share anything on what they did when they were really stuck? Like, man, I was stuck. This was a terrible situation. So anyone? What's that? Okay. Reach out for other people. Reach out to other people. Ask for help. I love that. What'd you say?
Go hiking. Go out every day.
Yeah. Yeah. Go out. Yes.
Keep going, man. You gotta get through it. You gotta keep mentally.
Yep. I love it. Keep going. What did I think Winston Churchill said? If you're going through hell, just keep going. It's okay. Just keep. If you're going through hell, keep going. You're going to say something back? Yeah.
Cold plunge.
What's that?
Do a cold plunge.
A cold plunge. How many people here cold plunge every morning? How many people cold plunge somewhat regularly? Okay, we've got a few. Okay, I would like to do it every day. Awesome stuff. Wonderful. So we're going to jump to. Okay. Oh, you want to hear? Okay.
In case it happens to me,
I was going to leave it hanging there, a cliffhanger. Okay. So he built an anchor into the snow. Okay, so he built an anchor, and I knew what he was doing because that's what you do is he built an anchor, and then as he was doing that, I kept kind of wiggling, my feet to try to get them free, and what I ended up doing was loosening my boot, right? And actually, I took out my foot, so now I'm in my sock. But then I could grab that thing with two hands and just jigger it a different way, and I had to move my crampon a certain way, and I got the boot out. But it took this was like 30 minutes of doing stuff like this. Okay, it was and I used my ice axe to try to get just a little bit of movement at first. It was scary. I'm stuck in this thing, and I do remember looking up in this little tiny hole that I came through, and I was thinking, how did I even get through that little hole? And then I could see one star. I could see one little tiny star, and I was wondering, man, if this is the last I see, that's not going to be so good. But at least I can see a star. So that's how I got out of that thing. Pretty sketchy. So if you climb Mount Cook, be very, very careful. This is probably, there's a lot of cool stuff we're talking about today. But what we're about to talk about now, I could argue this is one of the things that has changed my life in the most profound way ever imaginable. And it creates energy. If you ever wonder, like, man, how do those people have how much energy, and how do you do it? Man, I get tired some days. I didn't know the answer. Okay, I did not know the answer. I'm about to tell you the answer. Okay, and I'd love to tell you that someone just told me right away, and this is how it worked. But I figured this out after climbing all these mountains, after talking with Greg and Kathy, and just realizing actually what did happen to create tremendous amounts of energy. Because no matter how hard I pray, there's only 24 hours in a day. So when I was 22 years old, I was working for J.P. Morgan in New York City as an investment banker. And remember the circle of comfort here? right? Ready? I'm going to stay on the outer rim here. I was 230 pounds. I was working 100 hours a week. I'm 170 now, okay? I was 230 pounds, and I didn't have an end in sight, and I was just grinding away, and I was uncertain what I was like, what does even life even mean? You know, is this really what I'm going to do my whole life? God, this really stinks. You know, just grinding it out here on these Excel spreadsheets. And everyone's trying to outwork the other person, and it's dog eat dog, and no one helps each other. And I was at a pretty low point in my life, okay, really low. And after working for 7 months straight, so this is including Saturday and Sunday, 7 months in a row, not leaving the office before 10 p.m. or 11 p.m., I went into my boss's office and I said, I've been working really hard, as you know, 7 months, you know, no day off. You know, he knew what we were doing. And I said to him, I said, I'd like to go and take a week off and go climb Kilimanjaro. And he looked me right in the eye and he said, what makes you think you can make it? And then he looked down at my belly. And I was like covering up my belly going, what's he looking at here? You know, like what? So, and he said, are you climbing this mountain for yourself? I went, yeah, I am, yeah. He shook his head. He's like, I was kind of hoping you didn't say that, but he said, do you want to have more energy than you can possibly imagine? And do you want to have a shot at making this peak? Because I know you don't have time to train. I said, yeah, I do. He said, if you climb the mountain for something bigger than yourself, you're going to have more energy than you could possibly imagine. He goes, go think about that and come back to me. So I went back to my cube and I, cranked away, and, 2 or 3 in the morning, a light bulb went off, and I said, I think I could do something pretty cool here. And I did a bunch of research, and I realized that I wanted to do something on the African continent, because Kilimanjaro was in Africa, right? Like, how do I help out that continent? So I figured out that there was a cool organization that I found, and for $6,000, we could put someone through medical school. We could create a doctor for $6,000. And what this organization does is they go into these shanty towns, which are very poor parts of Africa, and they test kids for aptitude. And they find ones, and then some want to become doctors or engineers, and it's good to go. So they send you a book of all these pictures of these kids that want to become doctors, and they're like, well, you have to pick one. They give you like a paragraph. Well, frankly, how do you pick one? I mean, they all look cool, like cool kids, and they all need the help. So we just randomly. So I picked one. So I went back into my boss's office and I said, gave him the story, and I said, hey, I've got one here. Here's what this person looks like. And he said, well, you're going to do 2 of them, right? I said, yep, we're doing 2 of them. I only picked one. And he said, good. He goes, I like this. And so he opened up his checkbook, wrote the check, and he goes, here's the check. He goes, now you only have 1 more to do. How cool was that? And then he said, you should go talk to this person and this person and this person. And so I went all over JP Morgan. I got to know the whole freaking company, okay? They have a magazine. They did a big article on me, right? And we started creating more doctors than I could ever imagine. So to date, we've saved tens of thousands of lives, all because of this, all because of these doctors. We track the number of lives we've saved, okay? All because of this. I mean, how cool is that? What a great story to share. So then, because I was getting into Kilimanjaro and just meeting new people, somebody goes, hey, you should go to the Explorers Club. Anyone here ever heard of the Explorers Club? Okay, if you haven't, go to explorers.org. It's one of the most amazing organizations in the world. So I started going to hearing these cool lectures from astronauts and wildlife biologists and archaeologists from all over the world who are members of this Explorers Club. And I said, man, I want to be a member of this cool community. And then I learned about a biotech company that was looking for field researchers to go to Kilimanjaro and to look for new species. So I joined this team, I got the training, and our team discovered 29 new species on Kilimanjaro. So you see these layers that are happening? You know, it all started off, right? So then I became a member of the Explorers Club. Now we're saving over 50,000 lives a year, right? Then I learned about something called impact investing, and that you can actually, so my wife and I created, and our two boys created this really cool entity called Denali Venture Philanthropy. Denali, as we know, is the tallest mountain in North America. So we have a goal to bring 1 million people from working poverty to middle class or higher. 1 million people from working poverty to middle class or higher. We're at 180,000 so far. And it's just, I mean, pretty cool stuff. So these layers in life, right, are amazing. And I'll share one more. So when I wrote Die Trying, I went around the country and did this book tour, and 6 to 8 months later, I get an email from a woman. And she changed her email, like, it was like, Sue1258, right? I mean, and I was like, well, that's a weird email. Well, then I started reading the email and I knew why. And she said, I heard you speak, and she didn't say where. I heard you speak at some point, and I want you to know that I've been physically and mentally abused by my husband for the last 20 years. Physically and mentally abused. She went into detail. Not super detail, but enough detail where I'm crying my eyes out. And she said, you talked about the cliff of change and jumping off that cliff of change, right? How many of us have wanted to make a change and we sit there on the edge and you go, you know what, I'm not in the best relationship. I want to jump. Or you know what, I'm not the happiest at my work. I should jump off. But you don't. You sit there on the edge and you're just like, when do I do it? So it's more painful to sit on that edge than it is to just jump off. So she jumped, and I got on the chair and I jumped off this big thing back then. So she jumped, and she said, I want you to know I've left my husband. I've moved. Of course, she's not telling me where. I've moved. I took the MCATs, and I've started medical school. And she was in her, and she's like, and I'm middle-aged. That's what she said. She didn't tell me her age. And I'm middle-aged. Isn't that cool? And if it weren't for my Die Trying book, it would be somebody else's book, right? So the push that I want to give everyone in this room is, all of you have an amazing story. All of you have overcome adversity. And gosh, doesn't the media do a good job of kind of telling us the negative stuff, right? And they're trying to make money, right? So that's what they're trying to do, is sell ink, right? Sell clicks. But we can go against that and all tell fun, positive stories that may inspire someone, that may change somebody's life. So adding these layers in life is amazing. And here's another good way. Somebody asked me, he's like, Bo, I'm 70 years old. How do I do it? Is it too late for me? I said, heck no. I said, what do you like to do? What have you always wanted to do? And he goes, I've always wanted to be a chef. I've always wanted to learn to cook. So the answer is, you reclaim something that someone took from you, or you let them take from you when you were a kid. Reclaim it. Reclaim that. So he reclaimed it. And he did a cooking class. And then he flew to California, he did another cooking class. And then he went to Louisiana and took another cooking class and started meeting all these people. Then he went to Europe. And now at his house, once a week, people, whenever they travel to his town, it's like, oh, you should go have dinner at his house. And people different. And now he meets people from all over the world. People come to his house. I mean, look at the layers that he's created. Now they feed some of the homeless in their community with this delicious food. I mean, holy smokes, he did it. Right? So there's a lot of ways to create layers, which is pretty darn cool. And then the last thing that I'm going to leave you with is this. It's a really powerful story, and it's a story about mice. Okay? And the study was done, and it's a bit macabre, so you have to bear with me a bit. So in the 1950s or 60s, this researcher would take a mouse and he'd put it in a bucket of water and he would see how long it would swim before it died. and he'd watch it. Anyone take a guess? How long would the mouse swim before it would drown? He did this with a lot of different mice. Just take a guess. Throw some numbers out. 20 minutes, hour and a half. Okay. What's that?
5 or 10.
5 to 10 minutes. In a few minutes, right? In a few minutes, these mice would drown. So he killed a bunch of mice. And he kind of just, I don't know what he did, but maybe he thought about it, maybe he didn't, but some time went by and he goes, you know what I'm going to do? Got an idea. Right before they drowned, right when they give up, I can see them give up. I'm going to grab that mouse and I'm going to hold it. I'm going to keep it warm in my hands. I'm going to rescue it. And I'm going to rescue it for a few minutes. And then I'm going to put it right back in the water. And that's what he did. And how long do you think the mouse swam the second time? 10 minutes? Not at all, I heard. 60 hours. 60 hours. And do you know why? Because that mouse had hope. Everybody in this room that is a part of your life is looking for you because you give them hope. You give them hope. Don't ever forget that. I'm so honored and humbled to be here tonight. Thank you so much for having me. Let's do some Q&A. Thank you. A couple questions. Yeah, sure.
We can't go another hour with you talking.
I wish we could. Thank you so much. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Yes, sir.
Although you did Kilimanjaro, was that the first of the 7 summits?
It was.
And then what made you decide you want to do the other 6?
So more layers, right? More layers. I didn't even know what the 7 summits was. I'm coming down from Kilimanjaro. I barely made it. And my team member of mine said, hey, are you going to do the 7 summits? What's that? And that was the first one. And I said, well, yeah, I'll give the second one a shot. So I did the tallest mountain in South America second, which is called Aconcagua. And I wanted to do that one second because that's about 23,000 feet. And if I wanted to know if I could get to 23,000 feet, if many people can't. And if I couldn't get there, well, then then the 7 summits wasn't going to happen, right? So I wanted to start with that one as a kind of a high altitude. Yep, good question.
Did you need supplemental oxygen for Everest and K2?
So the question was, did I need supplemental oxygen? Which is a question I get. It's a good question. I love answering this question with a basketball analogy. Do people know who Larry Bird and Magic Johnson are? Do people know those names, hopefully? Okay. And if you don't, it's okay. But the Larry Bird and Magic Johnson are very, very good basketball players. They're in the Hall of Fame. Maybe for anyone who doesn't know, they're some of the best, they're clearly top 50, right? Top 50 players in the world. So Michael Jordan, I think hopefully people know that name, Michael Jordan. So Michael Jordan would not use oxygen. He would not. But Larry Bird and Magic Johnson would. So it's so rare, right? I mean, the people that do it without it it is really, really rare. I don't know if there's long-term, brain damage because of that stuff, because you're really up there that high without oxygen. Maybe not. I mean, there's whispers of studies and things happening. Not for me. That's not for me. I have a day job. I work for an awesome company, and yeah, so not for me. But thank you. Yep. So I did use it. Yep. One more. Okay. Yes, sir.
You've done a couple of 8,000 meter peaks, the 14 tallest in the world. How many more do you have to do? Is that a goal?
So thank you. So the question was, of the 14 tallest mountains in the world, right, that are above 8,000 meters or above 26,000 feet, I've actually been on 5 8,000 meter expeditions. Everest twice, K2, Choyoyu. Choyoyu is the 6th. I was the youngest American to ski that mountain. And then Manaslu, which is the 8th tallest mountain in the world. I was the first American to ever ski that peak. You know, I have 11 and 7-year-old kid, 2 boys who I love. You know, remember the circle? You know, I've got, so I want to, I still am going to climb and ski. Like I have a lot, like Bolivia and Peru are really high on my list right now because I can get to 22,000 feet down there, 22, 21 and ski. There is a couple 8,000 meter peaks that are on my mind to ski, but I'm going to do that later. I want to spend as much time as I can with my kids and my wife. So, and if my wife says to me that, you know, well, you know, she's really, if it's a deal breaker for her in 10 years or something, that to stay away from those big scary ones, then it's not meant to be. Wife's more important. Yes?
Are you still in contact with Russell Bryce?
I haven't touched, so Russell, do you know him?
I don't know him. I just
Okay.
watched the show. I feel like you know him when you watch the show.
Yeah.
But
So Russell is, I haven't talked to, you know, I could email him right now. We haven't talked in a couple years. I know he had a hard time with retirement. Like a really, really hard time, right? Because his identity was wrapped up into it. So he was going through a difficult time period. Again, to go back to the circle of comfort, right? I'm not just saying, yeah, Russell's a great guy, right? So he's a human being and he struggled with stuff just like we all do. So Russell needed some space. He was in kind of he was in a darker place. But what you just reminded me of is now it's probably the time to reach out and check in with him. So thank you for that gift. Okay.
Okay.
Last question.
Okay.
Last.
Without getting into specifics, obviously, can you talk a little bit about your spirituality throughout your life and these adventures?
That's a really deep one, and I'll talk to you about that after because that's one where people can, yeah. I'll talk to you. I mean, spirituality is in whatever way. Here's what I would say: in whatever way everyone in this room wants to be spiritual, religious, is cool. Whatever you're doing that makes you feel good, do it, right? So that's what I would say to that question. There is some things that you can do on that realm to propel you to do really super hard things, and happy to chat with you about that.
All right.
Thanks everybody. Thank you. 60 bit. We'll have a passion for investment. Keep climbing. Awesome. Thanks so much.